Oh, hello everyone. Today I want to challenge how we think about the advanced chip shortage. I will argue that the chip shortage and the sustainability crisis in this industry aren't two separate problems. Rather, they share the same root cause, and I will ground that argument partly in something very close to home, Malaysia's own national semiconductor strategy. Before diving into the problem, let us explore what is a semiconductor chip. A chip is an integrated circuit, billions of transistors put onto silicon, built through a process that can take 400 to 1400 manufacturing steps in ultra clean fabrication facilities, which is called fab. Building a single advanced fab costs between 5 to 20 billion US dollars, more than a new aircraft carrier. The value chain spans design software firms, equipment makers like ASML, foundries like TSMC, fabulous designers like NVIDIA, integrated device manufacturers like Intel, and packaging and testing specialists. A chain so distributed that a typical chip crosses dozens of borders before it's finished. Chips now underpin nearly every sector: computing, telecom, automation, healthcare, and increasingly artificial intelligence. We know the cause of 2020 to 2022 shortage were COVID-19 disruptions, just-in-time manufacturing, leaving no buffer stock, the 5G rollout, geopolitical tension, and capacity that hadn't kept pace with demand. That shortage largely resolved for consumer grade chips, but a new, more specific shortage risk is building for 2025 and 2026. This time, concentrated in advanced AI chips like GPUs and high bandwidth memory, where packaging capacity at TMSC and Samsung isn't expected to catch up until late 2026. Alongside raw material risk like Ukraine's neon gas supply and China's export control on gallium and germanium. Here's what I want to go further than the standard account. These bottlenecks aren't random, they trace back to the same underlying issues. Chip production is extraordinarily resource intensive, and that resource intensify is precisely what makes it both geographically concentrated and environmentally costly. Take Taiwan, for instance, which alone produces about 90% of the world's most advanced chips. Taiwan's own electricity mix remains heavily fossil fuel dependent, which means the fabs producing the world's most advanced chips carry a significant carbon footprint. Advanced fabs also need enormous volumes of ultra pure water, and roughly 40% of fabs worldwide and of new fabs announced since 2021 sit in regions projected to face high or extreme water stress by 2030. Taiwan's 2021 drought forced TSMC to truck in water to keep production running. Second, the raw materials. China controls the vast majority of global refining capacity of gallium and germanium. Inputs, the course that has already flagged as a vulnerability, and since 2023 has steadily widespread export restrictions to cover tungsten, trillium, and other materials. The International Energy Agency's 2026 Global Critical Minerals Outlook warns that full enforcement could put up to $6.5 trillion of downstream production at risk worldwide. Mining and refining these materials is itself environmentally damaging. So the fragility and the footprint come from the same source. Third, AI is accelerating both problems at once. Recent research on mineral demand from AI data centers shows that the same infrastructure boom driving to today's GPU and HBM shortage is also pushing up demand for copper and other critical materials. Precisely when the world needs the semiconductor industry to become more sustainable, not less. So, my core claim is this: sustainability and resilience are the same design problem, not two separate agendas. Water and energy intensity, mineral dependency, and surging air demand all trace back to one fact: cheap production is only viable in a handful of resource rich locations. That's why diversifying where chips are made without addressing how resource intensive that production is doesn't actually solve anything. It just relocates the same vulnerability. This maps directly onto SDG target 9.4 on sustainable industrial upgrading and 9.5 on technological capability, and SDG target 12.2 on sustainable resource management, which clearly links to SDG 6 on water and SDG 7 on energy. Government knows this is high stakes, and the response has been fast. The US CHIPS Act has committed tens of billions in subsidies. The EU CHIPS Act 2.0 aims to build on that. Japan's Rapidus is racing towards 2 nanometer production by 2027. India's semiconductor mission is building capacity almost from scratch. And Pax Silica, launched last December, is coordinating the whole chain among allied nations. But here's the gap running through every one of them. None makes environmental promises, which is a binding condition of support. That's exactly the gap my proposed strategy targets. So here's what I'm proposing. A framework I'm calling sustainability condition resilience. The core idea is very simple and currently missing from every policy we just saw. Environmental performance should be a binding condition of every resilience investment, not a voluntarily add-on. Three pillars. First, condition subsidies on sustainability. Government release public funding for new fabs only if we spend commit contractually to water recycling and clean energy sourcing. Second, scale up mineral circularity, recovering critical minerals from e-waste, which reduces both mining pressure and geopolitical exposure to concentrated refining. And third, embedded standards into alliances. Coalitions like Pax Silica should regard environmental conditions as a membership criteria, not just security cooperation. And my proposed strategy isn't just theoretical, it's already partly working. Malaysia's National Semiconductor Strategy, backed by 25 billion ringgit, is best known for its push into integrated circuit design, advanced packaging, and its 10 plus 100 local champions target. What's less discussed is that within that 25 billion ringgit, funding is specifically earmarked for a national energy transition facility and a green tech financing scheme. That's semiconductor growth and green energy transition sitting in the same budget, not competing for the same money. In other words, pillar one of my strategy, conditioning growth on sustainability, is already happening in Malaysia. That's proof this approach is workable, not just aspirational. To conclude, the advanced chip shortage and the industry's sustainability problem are not two separate stories. They are one story about an industry that is indispensable, concentrated, and resource intensive all at once. That reframing matters because it changes what counts as success, not just more fabs, but fabs that are actually sustainable. Sustainability condition resilience, already partly proven by Malaysia's own approach, treats resilience and sustainability as a single problem to solve together, not two competing priorities to balance. Thank you.